New update, new weapons to play around with. Arc Raiders Flashpoint update brought with it 2 new weapons, and naturally, you want to get your hands on them and know if they're worth taking topside. Today we're taking a look at how to get each of these weapons, best tips in order to do that, and what you need to know about the weapons themselves. Drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay there with all things Arc Raiders. I'd love to have in the community. And if you want to join in on the conversations as they happen live, we're back to streaming about every other day here, so we'd love to chat with you, but let's get into it. So let's start out with the one that I've found more elusive, and there's more I think to say about it, the Dolabra. The new legendary tier energy shotgun is found only in the new close scrutiny map condition and the focal points of the assessors. So brief rundown for those who may have missed the update or may not have a ton of experience here with this just yet. Close scrutiny minimizes loot outside of the areas of contention, like loot around the world naturally is lessened. The assessors are your loot. So grand scheme of things, this isn't really a looting mode, it's a fight arc, get new components, and maybe a blueprint mode. Your objective around the 2 minute to 2 minute and 30 second mark, your first surveyor around the map will end up beaming a signal into the sky, and that's when the assessors will come into play. A 3-pronged device that will be guarded heavily by arc plus the new vaporizer enemy. This will be denoted from 3 beams of light in the sky, each coming off their own probe points. When you get to the assessor, you have to wait for the platform to spit out so you can stand on top of that, and then you can breach it and attempt to get the loot. Now the catch, not only will the existing arc become aware of your presence, more arc will actually spawn at that halfway point of the breach, either prompting you to back off, take the fight, run away and come back to it, whatever the case, or you could stick to it and hope you survive long enough to grab the loot and then get out. Obviously, your main goal is likely the blueprint if you're farming these, but if you're working towards the new project, there's also other important loot to grab from this as well. I think between page 2 and 3, you need 24 of the new assessor matrices, which, by the way, don't stack in your inventory, so if you're like me and had 21 of them at a single time, they're just kind of stash burner. So, okay, that's the basic gist. The Dolabra is found only in that loot pool. In full transparency, it's completely random spawns like the rest of blueprints out there, and frankly, it's a bit, scratch that, a lot annoying if you don't get lucky. I think I probably looted like 20 plus of these things, died plenty of times, and nearly lost my mind from other players unintentionally griefing me because we're all doing the same thing. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, but still frustrating all the same. The problem with this is that 1, it's a rare spawn, so everybody wants it. It's brand new, everybody wants to try out that new thing. And number 2, the assessors spawn more arc with every probe of the trident. So you have upwards of 4 to 6 vaporizers or rocketeers that can spawn in a single area at a given time, which makes it nightmarish. So how do you mitigate this? How do you make this easier on yourself? Well, firstly, let's start out with the loadout that you should be bringing into the match. You can absolutely bring in all your heat if you want. If you want to go in fully kitted, you absolutely can. But it's truly, I think, a matter of, are you farming this or are you playing the mode? If you were only going for the blueprints, I get not wanting to risk more that you may end up losing. Now that I have it, I'm going in fully kitted and just kind of big game hunting, taking out vaporizers and other things, fighting the arc to clear the path for anybody else who may want to get that blueprint for themselves. But let's assume you want minimal risk here, but still, you have to have some. There's kind of a loot floor you have to take in. First, for an augment, I would say the preferred is a looting Mark III survivor. Obviously, that's the go-to for everybody, but of course, it will allow you to crawl to an extract or stay alive if someone's willing to defib you if you end up going down. Shield, medium preferred. Heavy is definitely possible if you want to mitigate more damage from incoming arc fire, but it's also not what I would necessarily prefer just because of that movement penalty. You're out in the open when these are spawning, so you're going to want to run if you need to. Weapons, I think you only need a single weapon in a pinch situation with the arc. An anvil is my preferred, though truthfully, I didn't fire a single bullet when I was farming this. It's just in case, and if I die, I don't mind the loss. So you don't have to go in with anything if you don't want to, but I think having something isn't half bad. And then the quick use is the biggest part here at this. Obviously, you want shield rechargers or surge rechargers, bandages, whether sterilized or herbal, that's up to you, maybe both, stims to get across the world because the surveyors seem to go on a somewhat pattern, haven't pinpointed every map just yet, but it's usually almost across the map, nearly oppositely. But most importantly, you're going to want the photoelectric cloak, smokes, and or lure grenades. The strat, this might be strange to start out with and maybe a hot take, but don't go for the first one. Maybe first 2. Yes, you're going to be sitting around for 10-ish minutes or so, but watch the amount of Raider flares go up in that time whenever you say just sit around here and try it out. Oftentimes, everyone rushes into that first one trying to just get it done. They'll activate 2, maybe all 3 at once, and then it's just a war zone out there and people start to get picked off left, right, and center. Not to mention, you can start to then pick up on the patterns of where each of these spawns will be happening on each of these maps, and then end up making your way to one of those zones so that you're the first one there in a close vicinity. So I'd suggest Assessor 3 or 4 to start with. Keep an eye on the available exfils as well, just in case you do need to crawl. I've been in a scenario where I was close, but still missed the exfil and would not have made it across the map in time after that one closed. So, okay, you're early enough, there's one relatively untouched, now what? Get as close as you can without drawing attention. When you need to, pop your photoelectric cloak and then get to the platform when it pops out. Drop a smoke grenade right at your feet, breach and search, photo cloak out. Alternatively, you could end up using a lure grenade for either an escape or approach, but one of those two things to conceal yourself from the arc that's right there. And ultimately, again, using your way to get in and out of pinch situations with that photoelectric cloak so that they don't see you at all. Ultimately, it's going to be insanely risky. That's kind of the name of the mode. It's just also going to be insanely tedious. Like, you have to know that going in. This strat is just what minimized some of that stress and the loss of loot that I experienced when I was going through an insane amount of runs trying to get it. So next, the Canto. Frankly, it's kind of a boring explanation and one we've talked about beforehand, especially compared to giving a legitimate strat here with the first one of the Dolabra. The Canto was just straight up found in the Hurricane Raider cache loot pool. As of recording, I've only seen it in this loot pool. I don't know if that means that it's gone into like the regular Raider caches as well, or one specific map or condition specific outside of that, because it seems like the Hurricane loot pool is kind of like a pick and choose from other condition specific blueprints and put them all into one. But as of the time being, the Hurricane Raider caches are where you're going to find these. So that just means you're going to want to run around the outskirts of the map, get yourself into a prime position and loot every single one that you can. Obviously, some players are going to do this every single match as well. So it is unfortunately a race to see who can get the better spawns and get the best luck out of it. And it is going to take a little bit of time, but hopefully not as long again as it took me for both the Dolabra and this one as well. Now, to capitalize on this, to make sure you're doing this as efficiently as possible, not sponsored or anything, but I use Metaforge all of the time. Like, truly, this is the utility that I use for everything in Arc Raiders, and they have maps that end up having the Raider cache spawn points. Now, how the spawns of Raider caches, both standard and Hurricane Raider caches, are there's going to be like clusters or areas around the map that are going to have multiple spawn points that you'll see on this map. That's not going to mean that every single one of those points on a utility map is going to end up being a spawn every single time. Usually that cluster or general area is going to have one spawn per. Sometimes, like I've seen very rarely two spawn there whenever it's not like an uncovered cache minor map condition, and especially with Hurricane loot, I think I've only seen it once, maybe twice, where there are two in a cluster. But just know that you're going to have to look around that area in those spots. The pinpointed locations are the spawn points, but it's just going to be in one of those in that general area. So if you're lucky, again, you get this pretty quickly. For this, I'd recommend, honestly, a naked run isn't half bad, where you just take literally nothing but stims, because then you can just surrender, put those stims back in your safe pocket. If you either can't find them, you join late. You don't have to basically go through the 3 to 5 minute reset of extracting and then getting back into the fight. So that's stuff you can end up doing, and fingers crossed, again, you end up finding it relatively quickly. Now, are these any good? Personally, I'm contemplating a breakdown of each of these weapons, because truth be told, I'm still getting the handle on both these. I'm still learning the intricacies and everything, but kind of considering an in-depth stat guide to fully understand each of these and master them fully. If you'd be interested in that, let me know in the comments below. But generally speaking, I say the Canto is a middle tier SMG here. It is I would say more like budget friendly SMG, because it doesn't take as much to craft as, say, the Bobcat, but it's also more middle of the pack here at this. Better than the Stitcher. In some areas, not as good as the Bobcat, but it can definitely still hold its own. Like, it's definitely one that is fun to play around with and one that you can end up using. The Dolabra is an interesting one, because like it feels like against Arc that it's not as good as you'd probably want it to be, but it's not terrible either. And then in terms of PvP, I haven't done too much PvP with this one, admittedly, but testing against dummies, which carry the same sort of statistics across the board, it can 2 to 3 shot depending on your range. That's a big part of it. That I'm not entirely sure if I was just PvPing, if I would take the Volcano over this, but definitely since the nerfs to the Il Toro, I would definitely say that it's better than that. So again, kind of like a middle ground here at this one. This actually isn't all that expensive in terms of crafting, especially when it comes to a legendary tier weapon. Like, when you think about that, you think of like the Queens and Matriarch, those cores. Instead, you just need something akin to the Rocketeer, which, yes, it absolutely is a dangerous and pretty powerful arc, but to take out a single one of these doesn't take as much as like shredding a Queen or Matriarch. So all in all, it is definitely something that these weapons very much so have a place in regards to where they can fit in for both PvP and PvE, but I think it might vary depending on on use case, and if you can end up getting lucky enough to do that. But anyways, wanted to share this with you guys. Working on a bunch of other stuff here coming out of the update, but wanted to toss this up. We posted a short earlier today about this. We'll probably have another short recapping the Dolabra. Wanted to talk about the weapons and how you can end up getting them, what helped me out in this situation, so that hopefully it can help you out. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders content. I'd love to have you in the community. For now, thanks so much for watching. Modest been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.